We are live. Dynasty buys and sells, incoming rookies, and more on Aces Up Podcast, episode 31, with guest Pete Nova of Roto Underworld and FF Faceoff. If you're catching us live, join the chat, ask questions. If you catch us after the fact, drop a comment in the comment section. We hope you enjoy the show. Please like and subscribe. Helps us out greatly. And let's go. All right, Pete, what's up, brother? How's your day going so far?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Excited to be here. I know we've been talking, trying to get this together for a few weeks. So excited to be back on the sports affiliation. And I think this is second time on Aces Up specifically. I've been on your show, but not this specific show.
Right.
So happy to be back.
Yeah, that's right. We used to do. I used to co-host Thursday Check Down with Rick. I had you and Ant. Was it? No, it was you and Off.
Yeah, Off.
I had Ant, and it was Anthony and Steve. So I split you guys up. Yeah. So yeah. So it, we've and we talk football all year. So tonight like we mentioned in the intro, we're gonna go division by division. Just kind of back and forth dynasty thoughts, guys who, I'll bring up some guys, you bring up some guys. We'll discuss their dynasty value if we're in on them, and this year we buying or we selling, what their, we'll evaluate their value. We'll start off with going over some rookies.
Sure.
I haven't deep dove into rookies. I've been slowly asking, every guest I have on, I've been asking them 3 or 4 rookie questions just to get a feel. I usually watch a ton of John Lobb videos to when I start deep diving, and then I go from there, and then I do what I do. I'll look into some stuff. I'll try to watch, find some film and evaluate college numbers, check out the competition they played against. Looking at I'm a physical, if a guy can't handle the physical nature of the NFL, it's also a longer season. So, I put all these factors in when I evaluate my rookies, but I haven't done any of that. So we'll jump right into the rookie conversation. We'll start with, the elite tier. In the first round, in the projected first round of 2026 ADP rookie, projected ADP for 2026 rookie drafts. What's the top tier? Like, how many players are in the top tier? Is there a spot where the value of the pick drops off?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, I think in Superflex, I think Jeremiah Love's in a tier of his own. I think that's at least the first tier. I think it's Love in his own tier. I think when you look at this class, there's not a lot of players that you can sit there and say they're landing spot dependent. And unfortunately, it's a class that, unlike last year, there's a lot of players that, while they're talented, they're not going to be bigger than their situation, where they're just so talented where you're just like, yeah, this guy got drafted to the Jets, but, he's really, really talented. So I believe that he's going to, be able to be productive no matter who their quarterback is, or even if it's murky there. So Jeremiah Love fits the bill for me. Obviously you have Fernando Mendoza. He's kind of on a tierish on his own too. It's kind of like Love and then Mendoza and then it's a big grouping of guys after that. So I would say, honestly, I would want, once you get to the 107, after that, I think there's a pretty stark fall off. You have Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. You have Mekhi Lemon out of USC. You have Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. And then for me, you have Sadiq, you have Casey Conception. I have Conception ahead of Sadiq at 7 or at 6. And then I have Omar Cooper ahead of Sadiq actually at 7. And then Sadiq would be 8. So I guess you could really say the drop-offs after Sadiq, but at the 108. But to be honest with you, I don't really value tight ends extremely high in Dynasty as rookies, unless you're just like generational, or just uber talented. And Sadiq is talented athletically, but he didn't produce on the field as much as we've seen other guys like Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland, or Brock Bowers, like we've seen with those big 3 guys that came out the last 2 years. So unless you're in a tight end premium, I genuinely don't like ranking tight ends that high unless you consider, hey, they are a special talent. And while Sadiq is talented, he hasn't really put that production on the field for me to say, hey, talent plus production, this guy's a blue chip player. I don't see that with him. I don't see Casey Conception or Omar Cooper being blue chippers either. Heck, none of the wide receivers are blue chippers in my opinion, but those guys, at least, wide receiver feels like a more safe position to draft. Where, Joe, I mean, tight ends outside of like the big 3 every year of like Kittle, Kelsey, and then McBride, and now Bowers, it's really kind of volatile of a position, on a points per game basis. So I just don't draft them high because I just don't really find that there's much separation at the position. There's a lot of talent. There's just not a lot of separation on a points per game basis.
Right. And like you said, rookie tight end, sometimes it takes some time for rookie tight ends to develop. Also, sure, we don't know the landing spots, but one thing when it comes to rookie tight ends, or it's just tight ends in general, is where they're, where they are, where they come, where they factor in on the totem pole for pecking order. Do they have a legit chance of becoming a number 2 target on their team?
Yep.
Are they red zone monsters? Did they get drafted by a team that struggled in the red zone, but it's a tight end that's good in that area? So there's so much imperfect information on the tight end. It's hard to evaluate, and when it comes to just evaluating the players themselves without landing spots. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say that to put a bow on that topic, I think for me, outside of Lemon, Tate and Tyson, once you get past, I'm trying to draft up into the top 5. If you can't get up into the top 5, I would love to trade back and get extra assets if possible. While I do think I do like KC, I like Cooper, I like Sadiq, and those would be the next 3 in my next tier. There's still definitely a possibility that those guys are misses, and it's just a gray area. So if I could trade back, if I don't have that 105, that's what I'm probably doing if I'm not inside that top 5.
Awesome. Okay, so if you do use, one of your late first round picks, who do we like in this range? Like from the 108 to the 112 in that range?
Yeah, I hate saying this because it kind of feels, if you haven't paid attention to me in the off season and some of my takes, you'd probably think I'm kind of homering in a way. But Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas has been one of my favorite guys. I put out a tweet about him early January saying he's a guy that's been on my radar. And I think that the combine and pro day are going to be huge, elevators for his stock if he can do well there. And he did. I mean, he ran a 4.33 at 6'2", like 223. I believe those were his measurables. I mean, a 6'2" back, over 220 pounds, running a 4.33. While I don't think the 40s end all be all, I knew he would test well. I didn't think he would test like that. And he's really impressive. I mean, he had 1 year at Arkansas. Before that, it was New Mexico State for a year, and then Buffalo for 3, where he redshirted his freshman year. And so he is a senior. And but he had his best season when he elevated in talent, when he went against better talent at Arkansas in the SEC. And he had his best year. So people will knock that and say, well, he's a senior. He only really broke out truly as a senior, but it's like he also stepped up in talent, who he was going up against, and he produced the best. And he had some weird situations, not weird situations, but he just didn't really fit the scheme at New Mexico State when he was there for a year. And then he left Buffalo after a few years, just because I think they had some coaching changes there. So, I like Mike Washington Jr. I think he could be a 3-down back, and he also has really good hands to be a receiving back as well. So he can do everything that you're looking for in fantasy. So I know he's a riser for many people, and was a big riser. He wasn't even really a big riser for me. I just think, just the way he weighed in, the 40, all of that just made me feel even more confident. Like, yeah, okay, I think I got it right a little bit with him. So it's just a matter of what kind of draft capital does he get?
Nice. All right. So Mike Washington Jr. I think last week Jamie said Omar Cooper. That was his answer to that question. So I know you have him high. So that's both of you guys are high on him. So that's somebody I'm definitely going to be looking at. And, that's 2 sharp people already in on him. So, all right. So what's my next question? Give us a player projected in the mid to late second round of rookie drafts that you like. So we're going a little deeper here.
Yeah. I think for me, I really, really like Nicholas Singleton out of Penn State. This is a guy that broke out as a freshman in a Power 5 conference. He's got over 50 touchdowns in his career. He had a down year this year. Katron Allen, his running mate, was better than him, but Singleton's just athletically extremely gifted. He had a down year. They lost their quarterback in Drew Aller. Obviously, their coach situation changed mid-year, and it was just kind of a shitstorm. And look, he didn't look great on tape this year, but to me, when you look at a guy like him who produced as a freshman as well as he did, he was the consensus, pretty much number 1 running back coming into this year. Many had it. Now it was really between him and Love, and he fell because people looked at his running mate did better than him. He just didn't have a great year. And unfortunately for him, he did get a foot injury, which doesn't help his case. He did hurt his foot. I think he broke a bone in his foot at the Senior Bowl, which apparently he was having a good Senior Bowl practice week, and he hurt his foot, and he couldn't do anything at the combine. And so we're hoping, he did say that there's a possibility. His goal is to work out the week before the NFL draft. So hopefully he can get that in and help, put something on in front of the scouts. But I think he's a guy that I just believe in the talent. You don't show up at 19 years old and break out at Penn State of all places at a Power 5 school and just dominate like he did and just kind of put that away because he just had a down year when the whole team was just shit, to be completely honest with you. So I'm very interested to see Nicholas Singleton and what NFL teams think of him.
Awesome. I like that. So that's not the first time I've heard somebody speak positive of him. So, Nick Singleton on the radar. I'll have to look into him, see what you guys see in him. And I mean, as far as NFL draft capital, where do you think he might land in? Dre, you think he's a third round?
I think before the injury, I think he would have got day 2. With the injury, there's a chance he goes early, falls down to like early day 3. But I mean, when you're thinking about this class is pretty weak, I think a team may fall in love with him if he can put something in front of them before the NFL draft. But I mean, he's got pretty much everything you're looking for, and he's also a difference maker. Like, there's players that are good. They put up good counting stats in college. They hold up well. They're better role players. He's a guy that if he can put it together again, he's a difference maker on the field. So.
Okay. Give us one of the top tier. It doesn't have to be top tier, but one of like the top 12, we'll say. Somebody in the first round that you think is going to struggle transitioning to the NFL, or you feel is being overvalued?
Sure. Yeah, I think Jonah Coleman for me, he's RB2 for Fantasy Pros, running back out of Washington. I just didn't really love what I saw on tape. His metrics really pop. So his career metrics are good. So I can't take that away from him. He's a bigger back. He's about 220 pounds. He's not the tallest guy, but I mean, 31.21% missed tackles forced per rush was the most of all the running backs that are projected, top 15 guys in this class. He had the most missed tackles forced per run. He had 92 runs of 10 or more yards, which was 16.69% explosive rush rate. And his yards after contact, 4.12%, 4.12 yards after contact per attempt. So he's a guy that can also catch the football, 88 receptions. So I get that the numbers look good. I'm just kind of trusting my eye on this one. When I watched him, I just didn't really love the tape. He had a really good season junior year. I think he dealt with some injuries this year as a senior. And so hopefully maybe I'm putting too much stock in the injuries and devaluing him a little bit, but I think Coleman's a guy I'm not as high on. I just did my rankings and I have him outside of the first round. I have him I think 201, 202 value. And right now he's the RB2 and he's ranked 108 right now.
Okay. So where did you say he played? Did you mention this?
Running back out of Washington. He had a good junior year. He didn't look that good this year. I think he dealt with some injuries, but we'll see. Okay.
Well, missed tackles and all that stuff, we know in the NFL that space shrinks. So, and you're playing against grown men that can tackle. So, you might be onto something there. We'll have to see where he goes and, what he gets for NFL draft capital. And, that give us a better idea on evaluating him with the landing spot.
Look, a team could fall in love with a guy and one of these guys gets, high second round capital, and we're saying, okay, well, I don't really care about what I said a month ago or two. Like if a team likes him that much, I'll take a chance in a weak class and move him up rankings. So.
Absolutely. It's all in how a team is going to use you. If they find a way to use you, then that's what matters when it comes to fantasy football. You could have all the talent in the world and be stuck behind somebody and not get the reps, and then somebody less talented could just be in the right scheme and the right situation that fits their skill set and they take off. So that definitely stuff to factor in. All right, so that's one more rookie question. Guys that are off the radar, going way deep in rookie drafts, maybe like mid third and further. Somebody that's not on the radar that sticks out to you.
I can give you two guys. One guy would be Jamari Taylor. Jamari Taylor's a running back out of Virginia. He's got some decent numbers. He's more of a power back, though he's not like the biggest guy. He's extremely strong, has good pad level, makes guys miss, makes guys bounce off him. Doesn't have like the craziest breakaway speed, but still pretty fast. He caught a decent amount of catches in college, 94 receptions. So while he's more of a strong runner, he can catch the football. So he's a guy that I'm interested in. I have him in the back of the second round in my rankings as of today. And then a deeper guy. Now, Taylor is not ranked right now in the top 2 rounds. He's kind of like mid to late third. But a guy that's really, really kind of far down is Terrion Stewart. He's a running back out of Virginia Tech. And is a guy that's probably 4th, maybe 5th round. I mean, he might not even be a guy that's on people's draft boards at this point. But he has a 47.14% missed tackles forced per rush. Now, he didn't have nearly as many attempts as some of the other guys. He had 473 rushing attempts in his career. But I mean, he pretty much made a guy miss on almost every run. I mean, pretty much 50% of his runs, which is pretty phenomenal. He also had a really, really high explosive rate, 89 rushes of 10 or more yards on 473 carries. That's, almost 20% of his runs were for 10 or more yards. The thing with him is he just, he moved schools this past year to Virginia Tech, and he was kind of in a timeshare with somebody else. So he didn't have, he didn't have the amount of touches you wanted to see. The sample size wasn't as high, and he's a little bit older, 24 years old, but he's 5'9", 222 pounds. So he's really, really stocky. He's short, and he kind of reminds me, I mean, I say this lightly, he kind of reminds me of like a Maurice Jones-Drew in a way, where, very short, very well built, just like really thick legs, and like the upper body is still pretty thick too. That's a really deep flyer. That's could even just be more of like, hey, a guy that I just really like. I don't know if he'll translate extremely well to the NFL for fantasy, but he's a guy that I've just kind of grown to really like the tape, and I'm just curious to see if he's a guy that ends up sticking or ends up going somewhere.
Nice. So from what I'm hearing out of you, it's overall a better running back class than wide receiver, or I should say overall, but more deep.
No, honestly, I have more wide receivers than I do have. I have more wide receivers ranked higher than I do running backs. I feel like you get a clearer picture with the running backs. So, you just kind of start to see guys that are a little bit deeper, a little bit farther back with the more tape that you watch, that, I just started getting more and more interested. But I think the problem with the running backs is where I like some of their tape. It's just a matter about being realistic of how they'll translate to the NFL, right? Like, guys could have really good tape. They could have good, numbers in college, but, there's certain things you're looking for, right? Like their missed tackles forced, what's their lateral quickness look like? What's their age, right? That's important, of course. A lot of people factor that in. And then draft capital, right? I mean, what are these guys going to get draft capitalized? It seems like the wide receivers in this class are regarded heavily or highly, by scouts right now and by NFL teams. And I mean, looking at the David Montgomery trade that just went down, I think that tells you like a little bit about what these teams think about this running back class. I mean, Denver apparently was the other team that swooped in to try to make a deal.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
And they gave him. I love David Montgomery. Honestly, I've always said one of my favorite players to watch play. I loved him. I love him. He's just a tough runner, just a guy that just plays hard. And like, he's 29 years old. He's got 2 years left on his deal. Like, I mean, to give up a fourth for him plus a lineman plus another pick, that tells you that there are teams that just are not in love with this class.
Got it. That's good info. I like that, Pete. All right. So that's it for rookies. I appreciate the info. I'm still learning as I go on this year's class. So that was good.
Sure.
Why don't we jump into dynasty buys and sells, or just any dynasty evaluation discussion? What division you know what? We'll start with since we got the news today, we'll start with the AFC East. I want to talk about Breece Hall being franchised and what it means for his fantasy value. I still think he remains a buy in dynasty. When you play dynasty, you're looking at a two, maybe a 3-year window. With running backs, I tend to keep it closer to 1, but when you factor in age, Breece Hall is only 24 years old. I mean, I think a lot of casual fantasy football players would be surprised at that he's only 24 still. I think he's still one of the most talented players, most talented running backs in the league. He just happens to be on the Jets, which has been abysmal offensively the past couple seasons. I don't think that they really utilized him well last year, specifically in the passing game. I mean, there was a couple games where he went without a target, which that to me is, possibly a fireable offense. Or, like, what are you doing? You got Breece Hall, one of the best, he had one of the best pass catching running backs out there. Still think he's a high-end talent. This year, maybe some positive regression. I don't think he's gonna, break the walls off, break the barriers off and give us first round production. But he remains a buy because of his age. He's been franchise tag. I do think it's possible if things go real sour, he could be moved during the season. These are all reasons why I'm still buying Brees. I would temper expectations though for this season's production initially, until we see what happens, how the pieces fall in the offseason, see what the Jets do in the draft, and kind of take it from there. Who's gonna be their quarterback? So all these things factor in on this year's value. But as far as his dynasty goes, I'm buying him. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but
yeah, I'm trying to buy him as well. I'm not overly concerned right now. He's valued as the RB12 in startup ADP. I think that's a totally fine price. I would honestly be comfortable tearing down from Trevion Henderson if I could get Breece Hall and a high first round pick. Henderson's valued as the RB8. 4 running backs ahead of Breece Hall, and I like Henderson, but I'd be okay tearing down off of like a Jonathan Taylor who's running back 6 to a Breece Hall. Breece is 24 years old. When you look at the production, 36 receptions was a low for him. He had 76 and 57 the 2 years prior, but he also had 1,000 yards rushing, which was the first time in his career. And when you think about Aaron Glenn, this is a guy that's coaching for his job. It made total sense that they tagged him. I know people are frustrated; they don't understand what they got. $76 million in cap space. Okay, they have barely any talent on this team. It's one of the worst rosters in football, in my opinion. Now they did get a bunch of draft capital when they traded Quinn Williams and traded Sauce, and I get all that, but they really don't have a lot of talent. So letting Breece Hall go, I get people like it's a running back. You're not in a win now mode. Why would you pay him? It's $14 million. It's not a long-term investment, right? They brought him back, and Aaron Glenn's coaching for his career, his job. I mean, letting talent walk out the door, he's not worried about what this roster looks like a year from now. He's worried about what his team looks like this year. And Breece Hall is going to be a guy that's going to help them win games. Not many, but he will be a contributor. And when you just look at what he does, I mean, look, he's only 24 years old. Routes run 303, so he's heavily, heavily involved in the receiving game. Yards per reception, third in the NFL at 9.7. And opportunity share 73.7%. I mean, I know people were very afraid he was going to be in a timeshare last year. Obviously, that didn't happen because, what's his face ended up getting hurt. So
Braylon Allen.
Yeah, Allen getting hurt definitely changed the formula a little bit. But I mean, 48 targets, was a low for him, but still, at the end of the day, that's not. You talk about positive regression. That's going to go up. I mean, he had Justin Fields throwing him the football. We had a feeling. That Fields could affect, this team in a negative way, and they could take a step back even more. I mean, who knows? The Jets thought that for some reason, Rodgers, that they were better off with pushing the guy out that's been their best quarterback in years, for whatever reason to go to Justin Fields, and now they're back to square one again. So I'm okay with it. Look, at the end of the day, I look at dynasty in 2 to 3 year windows. Running back can change extremely quickly, the landscape and their value. And ultimately with Breece, he gets tagged for 1 year. People think he's going to be there the rest of his career. Are they going to tag him a second time next year? Maybe, but I mean, that's more and more unlikely. And even if they do, he's still extremely talented. When we talk about talent over situation, right? Like that's a guy that I believe enough in the talent to know, hey, like this is a guy that can be better than his situation, and he can make plays to make up for his bad situation. So I agree. I'm definitely have Breece as a buy for me as well.
All right. Anybody? Who'd you pick for your AFC East guy?
Yeah, I mean,
AFC, or team or coach. You could talk about whatever.
Yeah,
doesn't have to be a player.
That's fine. I think for the AFC East, man, I mean, I think Stephon Diggs is a massive sell, but I don't think you can sell him until you figure out where he goes, right? So I think you're kind of holding Stephon Diggs. I think that probably better to hold to a sell for Diggs. I don't think he comes back. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but I know he's got this legal stuff going on. I think they have to make a move on him soon because I think more guaranteed money triggers in the next like few weeks to month. And with the legal stuff plus that, like I think they're gonna probably move off of him. And then so maybe you think, I mean, it depends. I mean, he could go to a good situation and then people are back up on his value. And so I think he becomes a sell at that point. But I mean, if I could get like a mid-second for Diggs, I would absolutely trade him right now. I don't know that you're going to get that until he gets his situation figured out, but I'd say he's a hold to a sell, right now for me.
Nice. Yeah, I think, I agree with you. I think they do move on from him. Although he did fill a role, I think that they were expecting more out of him this year.
Yeah.
I could tell you that Mike Vrabel doesn't like all the aspects of his game. Just outside of him being able to get open and catch the ball. Just listening to some of the press conferences and some of the interviews, that's kind of what it seemed like, and I think that's why he also didn't get as high of a snap share as he's usually accustomed to. Like he was a little bit lower. I mean, the Patriots mix in a bunch of wide receivers anyways, but I think that if he really, really, outside of that Buffalo Bills game, he did nothing to establish himself as considered an alpha wide receiver.
He was really like a possession guy that, low yards after catch, a guy that just, had good hands to like consistently catch the ball when you needed him to make a catch, but he wasn't making big plays or giving you much after the catch. It was really like the short and intermediate and then not much after he caught the football.
Right.
A lot of like a 5 for 55 kind of stat line, kind of those kinds of games.
I mean, he did have like a 3 or 4 game stretch where he was fine in the end zone, but I mean, touchdowns are not something you want to rely on. They fluctuate. And I just think that the Patriots are going to try to find Drake May a true number one wide receiver, a go-to guy that's not a tight end. Right now, he's like Hunter Henry's his go-to. And,
I think they're gonna draft a guy unless they can pull off one of these trades. I think they're going to draft a guy first round. I think we'll finally get that.
Right. The big rumor that's been going on for the last year is AJ Brown, but I mean the Eagles really have no reason to trade AJ Brown if you want my opinion on that matter. But I mean that'd be nice to see as a Patriots fan. I'd love AJ Brown here. I think he's a big difference maker, and Philly needs to figure out their shit and get their offense rolling because that guy's good.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll jump down to we'll do Easts then Norths then so we'll jump over to the NFC East. I want to talk about a guy whose dynasty value might have dipped a little bit coming into this year as opposed to this time last year. He'll be going into his 3rd year. He got hurt this year. Quarterback for the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels. This is a guy, if there's any quarterback in the elite tier, I know we're talking dynasty, but for a redraft season for 2026, if there's any guy in the elite tier that I'm in on this year, it's going to be him, and it's because of his draft costs. I like to see who's at the bottom of the elite quarterback group each year as far as ADP goes. Sure. And right now that's Jaden Daniels. So I did, when you take a look, I use that and, that's showing you how the public and the consensus is viewing him. So in the dynasty, it does affect his dynasty trade value currently. So I think this is somebody, if the Jaden Daniels owner has been, knowingly shopping him around. Maybe you want, and you maybe this is somebody you want to target as a buy as well. I think he's in for a bounce back year. I do think that they address the running game, the running back situation. They don't go into 2026 with Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt as their starting running back. I think that they will figure out how to get that offense back to where it was 2 years ago. I'm expecting a big bounce back season out of Jaden Daniels. And, I still think he can run the ball. Obviously, his only concern is the injury, his injury proneness due to the nature of his style of play. But I think that, entering his third year, he'll be a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter about it. Again, the offense never really found a true rhythm, a true flow this past season. They dealt with injuries all over the place. Their wide receiver room, at least one guy was injured at some point. It was kind of a lost season for them, and I'm expecting bounce back. Yeah. What's your thoughts, Pete?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with it for redraft. For dynasty wise, with Jaden Daniels, I have him as a sell. Reason being is he's right now he's quarterback 3. He's behind Drake May and Josh Allen. He is ahead of Burrow, Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes, Jackson Dart, which is fine. Lamar. Honestly, I would I'd have him ahead of Lamar. I wouldn't have him ahead of Burrow or Caleb or Patrick Mahomes. I would have those 3 guys ahead of him. So I probably have him somewhere on the quarterback 6 or 7. And the injuries, of course, is the biggest concern with him, right? It's the guy that has not been able to stay healthy. Year by year, yeah, I'm totally fine taking a chance on him as cost and redraft. But for dynasty purposes, I just think quarterback 3 is pretty high for a guy that we've seen 2 years in a row now just not be able to stay healthy. And how much does that change his game to where we're not getting that rushing upside long term like we were in the past, right? Lamar kind of, shifted a little bit where, he became a better pocket passer, and that allowed him to, pick his spots when he did run, and he was very good at it. It's just more of a matter of if they do that with Jaden, right? If they change up and try to coach him out of running, how does that affect his, his play? And then you looked at the weapons around him, right? You have Terry, who's getting older, still a good player. Debo's probably on his way out. Zach Ertz get hurt, but it looks like he might be ready for the season. They're still struggling to figure out the running back position. I think they're going to try to address it, but hopefully they address it the right way. We don't know yet. It's still a question mark. So all those things make me worry that he's going to need to be a hero. And if he continues to be a hero and put himself in harm's way, I just don't know how that holds up long term. And so I just worry a little bit dynasty wise where, Patrick Mahomes is quarterback 10 right now. And I get it, he just got hurt, but Bieniemy's back. He looked really good this year. I think they're gonna bring in more weapons. Like, I think I'd rather tear down if I could get, a good player plus Mahomes off of Daniels. I would make that trade. Or if I could move Daniels for Caleb straight, I would even do that. At least Caleb's shown that he can stay healthy. He's got elite weapons around him, and he's got a really, really good offensive-minded coach where, honestly, Daniels' situation could change. I mean, so there's a real possibility Dan Quinn they don't have a good year and Dan Quinn's gone, right? I mean, I think that's possible. I mean, they just fired all his coordinators. So, yeah.
Shout out Jamie in the chat. Said Pete's the man. Pete is definitely the man. Dynatize Football got a question. Says, great show, Pete. Thoughts on the best realistic QB options for Justin Jefferson, I'm guessing, next year? Jay Jettas?
Yeah, I appreciate the shout. You can go check them out, Dynatize Football. They've given me some free access to check out. They just dropped a bunch of new tools on their website. Really, really clean platform, so you can check them out. But yeah, I think for Jefferson, man, I mean, realistically, unfortunately, it looks like Mac Jones may not be moved. I would have loved to see Mac get moved to the Vikings. I think that would have been nice, but it sounds like, I think teams are not willing to pay a second for him, and I don't blame teams for that, to be honest. But if it's not Mac, maybe you get interested to see if Kyler can make that move with KOC, but I don't like Kyler that much, so I'm not really in love with that either. I don't like Malik Willis. Maybe like get weird and maybe a Mitch Trubisky comes in and can compete against JJ, like, ex first round pick. We've seen guys do it lately. Maybe Trubisky can be that guy. He was with Josh Allen. Maybe he goes in and can push. Like I don't know. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think this is a really shitty year to need a quarterback. And Malik Willis getting $35 million a year is just insane to me. I just don't understand it. And I don't think they're going to do that. So.
No, it might just be JJ McCarthy again, to be honest with you. I mean, they're still going to see what he has. Obviously, if they did bring in somebody, it would probably be spark up a nice QB competition. Maybe it make McCarthy step up his game a little bit. I mean, he flashed last year in a couple of games. So, I'm with you though. Mac Jones was prime pickings, but like you said, man, they're asking second round price right now because of the compensation of the third round and the whole contract situation. But
I still like JJ as a buy. I mean, we're getting him after. Jefferson buy in Dynasty. What does it really mean? Like, I still don't think people are giving him up for cheap. But in redraft this year, I mean, Jefferson, we're going to get him finally not in the first round. Like, I think I'm willing to take that chance, like in the second round on a guy like that. I mean, if you miss, I mean,
what do you think happens with Aaron Jones? You think he's a cap casualty this year?
Yeah, they just said he's gone. They said, I think they said that yesterday. So that'll be interesting to see where Jones goes. I've always really liked Aaron Jones.
So on us Sports Affiliations hypotheticals, I am going to be doing a video on Kenny Gainwell going to the Minnesota Vikings. What do you if a guy like Gainwell lands and he serves as almost like a safety valve for JJ McCarthy, you think that will help him? It will help that offense and make JJ McCarthy play, a better quarterback, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gainwell overall is a good player. I think he could definitely be a good addition. I don't really think much of Jordan Mason. I got to be honest with you.
Same. I just think he's an early down runner.
It's
just an early.
He's an early down guy. He doesn't catch the football much. I mean, even when Jones got hurt, he was losing touches to, I don't even know who the guy was. He was like splitting time with the guy with the afro.
I think you're talking about that guy. Had a couple of nice games too.
I think it was like he might have been white or like half black, but he had like an.
I forget his name.
But yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna have to try to reshape that running back room completely. To be completely honest with you, I mean, they need to have a running game to help him out.
That's what I'm saying. I think Gainwell definitely is a plus for JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I the only thing is with Rodgers, I think he's going back. I think he's coming back for a year. I think he's going to stay with Pittsburgh, and if he does, I just don't know. I mean, does Pittsburgh? If Rodgers wants him back, it's going to be hard to say no. I would think, right? I mean, they did spend money on Caleb Johnson. They did extend Jaylen Warren, so it's like, do they want to spend the money on Gainwell to retain him? Gainwell probably wants to cash in.
Xavier Scott, Jamie bailed us out.
Yeah, I thought X kept popping in my head, but I couldn't put it together.
Nice. All right, so where are we? We jump into the AFC North. I'll let you go first on this one.
Ooh, So you
What
got
we
the
discussed.
Bengals. Yeah, you got the Bengals, you got the Ravens, you got the Browns, and then you got the Steelers. There's not really a ton of guys I want to buy. Browns and Steelers are really, they're kind of up and they're not up and down. The offense is just completely gray. I mean, DK Metcalf, I would say, is a sell. I don't care what I can get for DK Metcalf. I'll take anything at this point. Dynasty Data Lab has him ranked as the 29th wide receiver in Dynasty Startup ADP. So, he's going in the 8th round ahead of Christian Watson, Jordan Addison, Parker Washington, Alec Pierce, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams. I would take all those guys over DK Metcalf. I'm not a fan of DK. I think he's overrated. He's a big time X wide receiver that just doesn't play big, in my opinion. And rookie value, they value him at like a 109 to 110 in terms of his rookie value, like for rookie draft picks this year. I would take that in a heartbeat. I would take an early second round pick for DK, a mid second. I just don't want DK anymore. I'm just over the experience. Now that he's going to be in Pittsburgh long term, I mean, maybe you get excited because McCarthy's there, and I actually happen to like the McCarthy hire more than most. But I don't know, man. I'm just not a big fan of DK. I would try to salvage whatever I can get for him at this point.
I agree with that. I've been out on DK for a couple of seasons now. I feel like he's a lot of his when he broke out early in his career, and a lot of those big 2 touchdown games came because of the offense, the surrounding pieces. The not Doug Baldwin? He did Tyler Lockett. He had prime Tyler Lockett drawing, taking away coverage, and it's always a broken coverage play, or it was man to man. It was someone that he was far more superior than.
Yeah, he looks athletic. Yeah, he looks extremely. He's athletically looks like a freak, a physical freak. And it's funny, when me and Anthony 2 years back, I was big on DK when Ryan Grubb was the new OC there in Seattle. I thought he was gonna unlock the passing offense, and Anthony was adamant that DK was just never gonna be what he was that one breakout year. And he was right. I mean, he's never been, what we saw that one year. I think as a sophomore season, we've just never seen it. I mean, just one time. We just haven't seen it again from him. So I think he's just living off that, to be honest with you.
I think Jamie's got a Quinshon Judkins value question for you. If he was in this year's rookie draft, where would you draft him?
Yeah, I'd say 106 is fair. I'd say he'd probably be the second running back off the board. And, depending on the wide receiver landing spots, if Carnell Tate gets drafted to the Jets, I'd probably move him ahead of Tate, that kind of thing. But I'd say Judkins would probably be at the 106. That's pretty fair.
All right. I got a question for you, Pete.
Sure.
What are the Caleb Johnson owners doing?
I feel like I made a mistake on him. I was never high on him. I always said it was RJ Harvey over him. That was those two were the two guys that butted heads in the rookie draft conversation last year. He's still young, but he really didn't show anything. So it's really hard to you can't even go back to a game and be like, yeah, that one time he stepped in, he looked really good, for the one game he had to start for them. We just didn't see anything. They almost tried their hardest not to put him on the field. I did sell a 212 to get him, right before the season ended. So I mean, I did buy him for a 212. I probably would sell him. I'd probably say that that's about as high as I'd spend on him. Is 212 to early third is what I would spend to get him. But the more and more I think about it after that I sent that, I'm just you know what? I don't even know if I like doing it, to be completely honest with
you. But JV's appreciative of you ranking Javi over Caleb. I agree with that too. I took Javi over him, I do have one team though where I do have Caleb Johnson, so I had to throw that question in there because I honestly you can't cut him. I don't think you can cut him. It might be too soon to do that. Dynasty rosters are pretty deep.
Right,
yeah.
But if you have a deep rosters.
Speaking of roster cloggers, one more guy from this division I want your thoughts on is Isaiah Likely, Baltimore Ravens.
Oh man, you know how I feel about him. I mean, I think he's a buy. He's athletically gifted. I think he's going to have a market. I'm looking at his dynasty startup ADP is tight end 18. He's going for like a mid-second round pick. Like that's well worth the risk to go take a chance on him, in my opinion. Especially he'll probably go sign somewhere on a good contract. So I'd say he's a buy. I've never been the biggest fan of his because I loved Mark Andrews and I just didn't love that offense. And I just didn't believe the opportunity would be there enough consistently for him. But if you're willing to maybe get him, it's always tricky, right? You might say, well, if I wait till he lands somewhere, I'm going to have to overpay. And if I don't wait and I do it before, and then he could land somewhere shitty. And then you're like, so what do I do? Like, if you believe in the player, you believe in the talent, I'd say go buy him before he goes and signs somewhere. If you're kind of iffy like me, where you're kind of like, I don't know, then you might be more hesitant and be like, yeah, I'll just wait to see where he lands first. And if I got to pay a little bit more to go get him, so be it, but I'd say at tight end 18, he's a good buy right now. I mean, he's behind Juwan Johnson, AJ Barner, Theo Johnson, Mason Taylor, I'd say that's pretty fair ranking where he's at. And I think you can get him for pretty cheap unless the guy that has him is just dying for him to finally land somewhere. And then they might not even want to give him up or they're going to make you pay an astronomical price.
Nice. All right. We got a question in the chat and it's going to lead us to our next division, the NFC North. It's from Dynatized Football. Do you think Luther Burden jumps Odunze as wide receiver 1 in Chicago, or at least DJ Moore? Go ahead. I'll let you.
I want to hear your thoughts on it first.
All right. Well, you know how I feel about DJ Moore. And I know. So I'm just going to say it. Still, going into 2026, DJ Moore is the best wide receiver on the team. Better than Luther Burden, better than Rome Odunze. Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams was targeting him specifically near the red zone, not necessarily like inside the 10, but like when they got down close toward, within approaching the red zone, that's where DJ Moore was being used in the playoffs. He made some big catches. I think that, they need to find a way to use him better. What's he getting between? How many receptions did he have this year? Did he go over 70?
DJ,
let me bring him up real quick. I should have already had this up, but I think they need to get him up over 80 receptions, and he's a yak monster. You get the ball in his hands, he does special things with it.
He had 50 this year.
Yeah, see, that's a little underutilized in my opinion. I know they have a lot of mouths to feed. I know Colston Loveland looks good. I mean, in my opinion, I think that Colston Loveland has a better breakout chance than Luther Burden. Luther Burden flashed, but if you factor in, the value of a top 3 tight end, and that's basically he's going 3rd off the board this year in best ball drafts. And as far as dynasty goes, he's probably ranked 3 there too, right?
DJ?
No, Colston Loveland.
Loveland's ranked ahead of both of them in dynasty right now.
I meant as a tight end, is he tight end 3? Yeah. So I think the tight end 3 is more valuable than whatever wide receiver Luther Burden is.
Yeah, Rome's 18, Burden's 22, and DJ.
He's falling. People are sleeping. Yeah, I think people are sleeping on DJ Moore, man.
Yeah, I talked about him. I talked about him on my show as a buy as well, DJ. You know, I like Luther Burden. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a talented player. I just think that the DJ Moore situation reminds me so much of Brian Thomas Jr. right now. Everybody is just trying to get their guy in the lineup. So they're just trying to look at the shinier toy. For people with BTJ, it's Parker Washington, who I like, and it's still Travis Hunter. And the Jags just trade Brian Thomas Jr. because he had a bad year, and he didn't look like he fit the offense. This guy's like 23 years old, going into year 3. He was like fifth in the league in receiving yards his first freaking year. And like people just think, well, they have a lot of guys, like they should just move him. Like he doesn't fit, like it just doesn't make sense. And to me, and that's how I feel about DJ Moore. Like I think people just say, well, with the Bears, it's been, oh my God, the last 2 years. It's like when DJ was there and Rome got drafted last year, or 2 years ago, it was like, oh, Keenan Allen's there and DJ's there. Like, people tried to find ways to be like, DJ needs to go, right? Then last year it was Luther Burden was now drafted, Loveland was drafted, and then everybody wanted DJ out again because it's now Rome and them. So it's just like, I feel like we're just wish casting this to happen. And to me, I just don't think I don't think the team dislikes DJ as much as people think. I know that people think like, there's a hustle issue and all this. Like, I just don't believe it. Now, what I would say about Rome is right now, his ADP feels like it is super baked in that DJ Moore is gone. Rome Odunze is going in like the top 5-6 rounds in best ball right now. And I'm sorry, Luther Burden. And Rome is like 4th around there, 4th, 5th. Like, and DJ is like close to 100. Yeah. Behind. Yeah. And so it's like everybody's baking that in. You're getting no discount on Luther Burden or Rome Odunze if you do like those guys. And there was a report today that said that they it's starting to feel like DJ is going to end up being there. And I could see that happening. Now, I could also see him being moved. Don't get me wrong. I think they have to probably restructure his deal in some sort of way. But there's other ways they can make up the cash on that team. But I don't know. I just think that people think regular football is fantasy football and Madden, and that you can just make all these moves. And I get it. Like, I like the fact that some guys are creative that are GMs, but I just don't think that's what's going to happen here. Just because they have a surplus of talent doesn't mean they're just going to move DJ Moore. I just don't. I don't know. People just, I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, well, it's fantasy gamers wanting the best possible situations for their guys.
Sure. It's best for both of them guys.
It's probably good for DJ Moore too if he ends up somewhere where they do lean on him more than he's getting more usage than what he's getting in Chicago. I mean, that 50 receptions, 677 yards, that's low.
And he didn't complain once. He didn't complain once.
And then you look at some of his opportunity numbers. He is number 15 in design targets, number 10 in overall routes run. So it's not like he's not out there. It's the nature of Ben Johnson's offense. They spread the ball around. There's a lot of mouths to feed. They got two good running backs. One can catch passes, the other one can put games away if they happen to build a lead. So,
even if DJ stays there, I think his current cost is fine. It's good.
Yeah.
And then you get a bonus on top if he does get moved and gets a good spot. If he goes to the Raiders, it might not be that bad. They need some help there.
Albert throws a dagger through my heart. That would totally kill my love for DJ Moore. DJ Moore to the Bills. That would be a hell of an addition for them both. That's a good galaxy brain there by Albert.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, DJ Moore was the guy I was going to talk about, so no surprise.
So we hit it. What's the next division?
Well, do you have anybody else in the NFC North you want to discuss, or?
For me, Monungai, I think Monungai is a sell for me. I like him as a player. I just don't know how high the ceiling is for him. He's valued as the RB23. I think that's pretty high, in my opinion. He's ahead of Jalen Warren. I'd take Jalen Warren over him. He's ahead of Bashal Tootin. I'd take Tootin over him. I'd take Ramondre Stevenson over him. Take Tyler Algier over him. Those are all guys that Monungai's ahead of. And I think people are just baking in the Ben Johnson, the fact that he's in a great offense, but this is a limited receiving profile from him. I love Monungai. I drafted him in places, Rutgers kid, so I love that. But better NFL player. I don't think he's a great fantasy option. Solid floor, not a high ceiling.
One more question on the Green Bay Packers pass catching. If Romeo, this is why I got to ask. If Romeo Doubs gone, how do you see this shaking out? Tucker Kraft maybe not being 100% to start the year.
I happen to really like Christian Watson. I know his age is not he's not spring chicken. He's 27, I think. Is he 25? I don't think he's 25. I got to verify that. But I happen to like Christian Watson. I mean, he looked like he's putting it together again. I know he deals with injuries. That's really the biggest concern. He's 26.8 years old, so he's turning 27 by the end of the year. But I really like Christian Watson. I mean, this dude was one of the best wide receivers in football this year when he was on the field. I mean, he had 611 yards in 10 games. I mean, over a 17-game sample size. I mean, he's getting close to 1,400 yards. So I happen to really, really like Christian Watson. What about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I didn't know if there was any life of Matthew Golden coming from your words, but I'm in the same boat. It's Christian Watson as long as he's healthy. And then when Tucker Kraft comes back, I don't think much changes to the way it was going before Tucker Kraft went down with the injury. Be interesting to see if they do add somebody, letting Doubs just walk basically. But that's it. That's all I got for the NFC North. We're gonna jump to AFC South. I guess I'll start with my guy. We were talking about it before we went live. I was going over some of his metrics and some of his box scores. How do you pronounce it? Chimere DK? Is that right? Chimere DK. This is a guy I'm in on going into 2026. I thought he had a solid rookie season. Let me bring him up. So, yeah, solid rookie season. He's kind of like the bright light for that offense this past year. He's also a threat on special teams. He had 2 special teams touchdowns.
Yeah,
this year, I believe he chipped in 2 special teams touchdowns. He had 74 targets, 48 receptions, 423 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. Played in all 17 games. Let's see. I think that why am I drawing a blank on the quarterback's name right now? Cam Ward.
Cam Ward, yeah.
I think Cam Ward started to lean on him as the season went on last year, and I'm going by my eye test. He looked really good. He was finding ways to get open. What do we got here? The game scripts are going to favor him. This is a team that is rebuilt. They're in rebuild mode. he's probably, the passing opportunities per game, probably near 40 every single time. So, he's going to be entering year 2, get a little bit more comfortable on his feet. I think he continues to develop as a wide receiver and develop that rapport that him and Cam Ward were working on as the season went on last year.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I mean, I think they're definitely going to bring in some sort of competition. They can't run it back with this skill group, but he's a cheap flyer. He's obviously talented. He can contribute in multiple ways, which gives him insulation to stick around. When you just factor in his ability on specials. So yeah, I don't have a ton of thoughts on DK. I think he's fine to take a chance on. If I was going to take a swing on somebody in that area in the same division, I think I would take a chance on Tank Dell. He's valued as like an early 3rd round pick, probably even later right now. He's wide receiver 69. Good reports that he's healthy. And I think he's more important to that offense than people estimate. Now I get it. They do have some more talent in that room since he's last played with Higgins and Noel. So that could put a damper on it. But I think he's totally worth the flyer if he can come back and be somewhat healthy. I wouldn't pay high on him. I'd probably pay kind of like a mid-3rd to late 3rd is what I would pay for him, but he's definitely worth a dart throw in my opinion. Because honestly, I think he's a big part of that offense and the cohesion of that passing attack. So,
I agree with that. Higgins and Noel, neither one of them really got on the field consistently. Their snap shares hovered between 50 and 70% for the most part. So, and he does have that Tank Dell does have that special friendship connection with CJ Stroud. And we do know that they're great on the field as well together. Tank Dell was putting together one hell of a rookie season before he went down. So,
yeah,
it's just been all bad luck since.
And I think Higgins is good. I'm worried mostly for Noel.
Right.
I was a huge fan of Higgins coming in. He was probably my favorite guy to watch on tape in last year's class. So I'm still a believer in Higgins. But the problem is with this offense, you're talking about a defensive-minded head coach with a good defense and a team that's not going to be playing from behind much. How much does that leave on the bone for everybody else outside Nico? Right. I think that's the other counterpoint.
Right. All right, I want to jump back to DK real quick. There was one part that I left out that I fumbled around with my computer over here. From week 8 on, his snap share increased dramatically. He was 40 to 55% up until then. From week 8 on, he's got he had 88%, 87%, 82%, 76%. So the Titans offense trusted him more. He was getting more playing time. I think that's something that continues into next season. Most of his production came in the second half. That's something that I pay attention to down the stretch. Production, especially from rookies. The way it happens. You look into it, and then you determine if this is something that can carry over. I want to say Amon-Ra St. Brown has had a similar finish to his season. Maybe much better than DK. DK's like a poor man's St. Brown. But
yeah, I don't think anyone thinks you're saying they're the same guy.
Yeah, no, they're definitely not in the same tier. But
nice.
Yeah. But I do think it's that him and Cam Ward have developed a good connection. Game scripts, mentioned the game scripts, playing from behind a lot. Guy is the big playmaker on their team. He's the one that can make the big play, take one to the house. So
yeah,
that's why I'm in on him. I don't know how cheap you can buy him for, but if you're doing a dynasty startup draft, I'm sure his ADP isn't.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 58. Pick
Yeah,
170, so he's a 15th round.
That's perfect. Yeah, so I'm taking him there all day long in dynasty.
Yep.
All right, so you got to play. Oh, you already did yours.
Yeah,
so.
I said tank.
All right, so now we are on AFC West or NFC West. NFC West.
Oh man, when you I think about the NFC West, there's so many good players. Honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm totally fine trying to buy Davante Adams if I'm a contender. I get it. He's freaking old, man. I know people are probably concerned about the age. I mean, he's 32 years old this year. But I can't ignore the connection that him and Stafford have. If he's healthy and he's on the field, he's going to be a guy that you're going to be starting no matter what, unless he falls off a cliff. And the skill set with him, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think you can probably get, if you're a contender, you could probably give up like a mid to late second for Adams, or maybe you do like a younger player swap, like maybe a Quentin Johnston for Davante Adams. Like if people believe in Johnston's breakout last year, which I don't. Or maybe you tear off of, maybe you get Adams and like a late third for, like an Alec Pierce if you're not a big believer in him, depending on where he goes, right? Like I know it sounds crazy and maybe I'm just falling in love with the nostalgia of Adams, but it's just hard to ignore what he did last year. And I don't know how you watch him unless you think he's going to get injured and that's going to slow him down. What in his play makes you think that he's going to slow down? He's wide receiver 9 last year. Actually, sorry, he's 33. He just turned 33. But dude, 15.9 points per game. 114 targets. He had 60 receptions for 789 yards. A lot of it happened to be the touchdowns, 14 touchdowns. You sit here and say, oh, his touchdown sticky, but with Davante Adams, I think we have enough of a sample size to know that his touchdowns are pretty sticky. And the way they used him, pretty sticky, in my opinion. So, I would buy Davante Adams. I know it sounds crazy to say, but if you'd have to be a contender. But
what's the most you would pay for him? The very most.
I would say if I'm a contender, truly a contender, and I need like a wide receiver 3, let's just say like that's what I would view. In my build, he'd be like a wide receiver 3 because I would hope I have 2 younger core wide receivers on my team. I'd say probably about a 2.5, 2.6. I'd say I'd in this class, the way it's shaping up, I would do that. And then maybe you could honestly get like a 3rd and 2027 kickback. Right, like get something tossed in on the back end. Like I would do it if you could tell me that I'm going to get. If I'm a contender and I can get like anything close to what Adams did last year, even if it's for 1 year, and I'm truly a contender, I would do it. I would take that.
So here's where I'm at with Adams. Right, I wish Jerry was here for this because he's part of the dynasty league that I'm in. So I'm a Davante Adams owner.
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to sell him, but I'm not selling him for what you just said. You know what I mean? I'm not giving up for just a lousy mid-second.
Yeah.
I'm like middle of the pack. I would say if I had to rank the teams based on dynasty roster, and there's 3 really, really, really strong teams. This is the best dynasty league I've ever been a part of. Last year, it was I want to say it was a GOAT District Dynasty League, and there was a dispersal draft. Half the league, there were 6 teams in the dispersal. So I got in on that. I have Davante Adams. I would rank my team probably 5th with the ceiling of maybe making the playoffs, and I have spike week potential. I got Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix as my 2 quarterbacks in Superflex. I got CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams. I got a lot of good young players. Michael Wilson came out of nowhere. I have Ricky Pearsall, who I'm going to talk about shortly. Team is decent, but I've been looking to fleece somebody. I want to tear down, but not like I want like immediate production back as well. I want to add depth basically, but I don't want crap. I don't want to take a chance.
Yeah, then you probably got to take a chance on a young player.
Yeah,
that's probably what you got to take a chance, and then you risk like a young like guy like maybe a Ricky Pearsall, right? If you can, maybe you do a Ricky Pearsall, but somebody might say, well, he's old, young. You're gonna have to find the right team though, because a team that maybe you're looking at a team that's like just outside the top 3 that's pushing to be a contender. You could be like, well, here I give you Adams. That's going to be a piece that's going to help you. But, it's going to be there's not a lot of teams that are going to be willing. It's kind of like baseball, right? Like the Phillies, if for those that watch, like the Phillies had Nick Castellanos. Like Castellanos can give you like 25 to 28 homers. He doesn't have a good glove. He's probably more of a DH. People are like, well, why can't the Phillies trade him if they're going to eat like 20 million or 18 of his 20 million and the team's going to pay 2 million for him? And it's like, well, because there's really only a couple of teams that are willing or in the market to that are contenders that are going to bring that on. The rest of baseball's league, most of them are bottom of the barrel teams, or the good teams already have like that DH. So what I mean? So it's kind of similar. It's like, where there's just not a lot of teams that it fits their build, right? So you got to find that, or you just hold them and then you try to sell them in season.
That's probably what's going to happen. I'll see how my season goes. If I happen to have a chance to squeak in the playoffs and maybe make a run, we'll see. But Dynasty's tough, man. This is a league that's been going on for years. So when the teams that weren't part of the dispersal are really good. So, so
I give you props. I told myself no more orphans, man. Like if I'm committing to something like a dynasty league, man, like I gotta be in it in the startup. I can't take any more. Everyone keeps asking me, hey, do you want to take it? I'm like, I can't, man. I'm just not. I just don't want to do it. It's a commitment. It really is.
6-team dispersal is kind of like a startup, though.
Yeah, that is true. No, that's definitely. There's definitely some good players probably on the board.
Yeah. And then I made a good trade. I drafted 3 quarterbacks, and I ended up finagling a trade that involved Michael Penix to get CeeDee Lamb. It was it was a good trade for me. It was a lot of back and forth. I almost didn't want to do it because of the unknown going into last year. It was before the season started, the unknown of Michael Penix. Atlanta's, a lot of people were high on that Atlanta offense.
Sure.
And, so, I sold them at the right time, I guess, to a quarterback needy team that had just happened to roster Drake London as well. So I picked the right target, and like I said, it was probably like over 50 back and forth counter trades, and finally one stuck. Yeah,
but at least that I'll take that in the league that's active. Over.
Oh, dude, this is the most advanced. It's the most advanced dynasty league I've ever seen.
That's great.
I was gonna say it's all guys that Memphis Young and Jerry Sinclair hang out with. You know what I mean? Also refused to take orphans, but you did just take over. Yeah, he did. Jamie mentioned that last week on the show. He took one of Memphis's orphans, which is pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
All right, so getting back to the show where we leave off. Oh, Ricky Pearsall. I think this is a guy that if you roster, you need to hold on to him. If you don't have them, try to get them. I don't think I did any sells. I picked all buys. But with George Kittle slated to miss time, Juwan Jennings not being he's more of a chain mover than a underneath possession guy, kind of like, I think Ricky Pearsall is as long as he's healthy, is going to be a huge part of the 49er offense. We know that this is a high-powered, successful offense with CMC in it. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall pretty good together. Looking at his game logs, he didn't play till late in the season last year, but he did have a couple of games with eight or more targets in it, 7 receptions. I think this is one of those young wide receivers that are going to blossom going forward with the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm with you. As long as he stays healthy, this team likes him. He fits really well in the offense. So I'm totally good buying him. I think you can get a good discount right now too. I think they're going to bring somebody else in free agency. Could be like Mike Evans. I'm okay with still buying him even if Evans comes in. You might be able to get him for cheaper if once free agency hits because they bring somebody else in. So I might be willing to wait. But yeah, I like Ricky Pearsall. I've always been a really big fan.
Nice. I was actually there's one FF Pilmer. I don't know if you follow FF Pilmer.
I don't think so.
He's a dynasty guy. It wasn't him. It was at Cable. It was a different guy. It wasn't him. Oh no, that was a trade that just happened. I was off at a trade for Ricky Pearsall and I declined it. I'm trying to see if I could find it real quick, but no, it's not that important. But yeah, people have been making offers. The offers have been there for him. I got him when I was on the clock in the dispersal draft, actually, and he was available. People were trying to trade the pick for, and I was like, I know who they're trying to get, and I'm going to take him because this is dynasty. You know what I mean? This is dynasty. I'm not giving up the opportunity to take him, and it was like in the middle of it, of the dispersal draft too.
Every time when he's out there and he's healthy, he looks good, man.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. AFC West. The big powerhouse division with your Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Vegas Raiders, and who am I leaving out? Chargers. That's it. The team that I'm in on the most, and that out of that division going into 2026. I like Oronde Gadsden, especially in tight end premium leagues. I know people are worried about them having too many mouths to feed. But somebody I'm in on 2026 for redraft as a quarterback, and that's Justin Herbert. I think the sky is the limit for him this upcoming season. If he gets that offensive line stays healthy and gels together, Omarion Hampton stays healthy, this is going to be a juggernaut of an offense. And we got Mike McDaniel coming on board as the offensive coordinator. We saw what he got out of Jonnu Smith. I know, he was leaned up on because of the Tyreek Hill injury and Jalen Waddle being banged up and whatnot. But I just think that Gadsden is an absolute freak of an athlete. He looked fantastic in some games last year where, he can handle the volume. He can handle the volume and be productive with volume. So, will there be games where he gives you a dud performance? Yeah, sure. Game script's going to matter if they're blowing somebody out. They're always going to be a run-first football team as long as they don't have to pass as much as they do, being under Harbaugh. But that's kind of where I think we can see Gadsden take another step forward. He already hit in year one. People weren't expecting him to be that effective right away. I mean, the guy's got, like I mentioned, his dad played in the NFL. He's got incredible athletic genes. He's part of a real good offense. I think that I think he realistically has a chance to be a top 2 target earner on this team. Did you mention Quentin Johnston earlier?
I did, yeah.
Yes, I'm not big on him. I do think that he can make big plays for them, but he's not going to be a high volume type of guy. I think, 3 to 5 targets for him going forward. I think Gadsden can give you anywhere between 6 and 10 targets any given game. I do think Ladd McConkey is going to have a bounce back year as well. I think he kind of suffered with all the additions to the offense, plus the offensive line just being depleted last year. Justin Herbert really couldn't do anything, especially if they happen to be playing a ferocious defensive front that just blitz relentlessly, completely take the offense out of flow. So Ladd McConkey and Oronde Gadsden, two guys that, I think their value is going to start to go up, specifically Gadsden. Weigh in on them.
Yeah, I like Gadsden. I think the tough thing, I think the knee injury played more of a factor than people wanted to make it out. He banged up his knee. There was a concern that did he tear something? He ended up not. It just seemed like it was a bad bone bruise. But I think he dealt with that, and then you started to see the production fall off a little bit. So I think Gadsden's definitely a guy that I'm buying. I'm kind of holding Ladd. I think Ladd's priced fine. He's like wide receiver 15 right now. I think that's a good spot in Dynasty. He's behind Ibuka, which I would agree. And he's behind Garrett Wilson, which I'm fine with. He's ahead of Rashee Rice, Marv, Rome, BTJ, AJ Brown. Like, I'm good with all that. So I think Ladd's totally a fair price at the moment. For my cat.
It's a cat. Oh, it's that movie there, the Rob Schneider. Oh, it's a cat.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Mr. Deeds. Yeah, Mr. Deeds. Yeah.
For me, it's Rashee Rice as a sell. I said he was a sell in the Dynasty stock market over a month and a half ago. He's dropped from wide receiver 9 to wide receiver 16. So he has been dropping in value. To be honest, he's in a contract year. He has not been on the field that much. I mean, he had the injury, plus he had the suspension, so that was two separate instances where he hasn't been on the field. And this is a team that's going to need to make a decision on this guy and figure out what they want for the future for him. And when I look at Rashee Rice, I think he's talented, but he's not a guy that I look at and is like, yeah, he's going to be really good as he gets older, right? Like AJ Brown, I think he can continue to be good as he ages, right? Like his skill set. Rashee Rice is a guy that's a big receiver that plays on the inside, so he's not really a prototypical X at his size, and he's not extremely fast, right? So if he goes to a new offense, if they don't extend him, what does his role look like for the future? If we're trying to project a year, 2 years out, I'm just not very high on him. And then you also have to deal with this entire situation of, is he going to get suspended, right? They came out and said, if he's suspended, there's a world where, he misses, 6 games, 8 games, maybe even a year. I mean, he could get put on the commissioner's exempt list. Like, it would not shock me. So I told him, yeah, it's cheap chicken with good chicken. So I'm selling Rice, and maybe that's the bias in me as a Denver fan, but I think they're going to add. I don't know if they're going to draft a wide receiver in the first round, but I think they're going to add to that room. I think they're going to add a running back possibly in free agency, and then maybe draft a wide receiver as possible. Is it first round? I don't know. Is it second round? Maybe. But I think they're going to try to add to that room. Xavier Worthy stinks. Don't think he's good.
I was just going to ask you your thoughts on him. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a good receiver. I think he's a good athlete. I don't think he's a good receiver, And this is now a continuation of these Texas wide receivers who, Matthew Golden didn't have a ton of production. People fell in love with him last year, ran a fast 40, didn't do shit this year. Xavier Worthy hasn't done anything in his career so far. I mean, I don't think you can say he hasn't been a bust, right? I mean, granted, the wide receivers that went around him, Ricky Pearsall, Keon Coleman, but then Ladd McConkey right behind those guys. So I guess you could say, It's not like they, could have been worse. They could have drafted Keon. Ricky Pearsall, I would still prefer, even with the injuries, because I know he can still be an NFL receiver. I've seen nothing from Xavier Worthy to think that he's going to progress to be anything valuable on the field consistently.
Nice. I think I agree with that. He showed. I think his strong. There's a case that rebuttals what I said earlier. He finished his rookie season out pretty strong, and then last year didn't carry over. So, he was injured the entire year. Do you give him any benefit of the doubt there, or?
Maybe I'm a hater. I mean,
and it was through no fault of his own. It was Travis Kelce's dumbass crashing into him.
There's a theme,
and apparently that was an injury all year, even when he came back healthy. Like, that was a lingering injury. So
this guy is wide receiver 42. Okay, even going to last year, he was valued as like a top 20 dynasty wide receiver.
He was, I know.
He's dropped to wide receiver 42. The market's completely out on him. I'm out on him. I just don't see, even when he was out there, I just never really saw it with him. I just didn't think much of him. I think people tried to project him to be like the next Tyreek Hill, and I just think that it was just unrealistic. So I don't give him a ton of, I give him some slack. He played through injury, but I don't think, to me, it doesn't change my outlook on him, to be honest.
His redraft best ball ADP is currently 140.
Probably not even the top 100.
Last year he was up in the round 5 and squeaking into round 4 in some drafts. So
I had 0 shares, but I didn't win any big best ball tournaments on Underdog. I did do really well on Fast Draft, but
nice. All right, Pete. I think that we covered all of them. I don't think we missed. Oh, we did NFC South. Did we do an NFC South?
No, that was the one I think we haven't done yet.
I skipped over that one. All right, yeah, let's do that one. NFC South. A player I want to talk about probably doesn't have much dynasty value, but he could give us production this year, and he could, at this point, the price to get him is you can probably get him for a 3rd or a 4th round pick. And
you're saying Alvin Kamara?
I'm talking about Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I think now he's got to be in a Saints uniform entering 2026 season. I think if somehow he ends up on another team, I don't think he'll be productive for fantasy. But in the Saints offense, in that running back room, I like his chances of giving you, RB3 production. I think his snap share isn't what it used to be. He's going to be only 50-60% snaps, but his involvement in the pass game, the fact that they're rebuilding, they're playing from behind. I'll throw the game scripts out there again. He's going to get enough. I think he gets enough targets to give you a nice low floor. So if you're looking for like a bye week filler or a depth, just something to add depth, maybe you play in a league with 2 or 3 flexes. He could be a 3rd flex. I'm not saying he's going to go nuts, but I just think that people are completely writing him off, and I do think he has one more productive year in him.
Yeah, with Kamara, it seems like he doesn't want to play anywhere but New Orleans, right? So I think there's a good chance they draft Jeremiah Love, so that obviously throws a kind of a curveball, but I still think he'll be involved if he's there. They're not going to pay him the amount of money that they're paying him for him to not be like a 3rd down back, at least like a receiving guy. And yeah, it's not going to cost you much. Kamara's value has got to be like a 3rd, like you said, like a early 3rd is probably what his value is. Now, if they don't draft Love, that maybe pushes up to like a late 2nd. I think that gives him a slight bump up. But yeah, I from what I saw, like it's just really health for him to stay on the field. But he's still a really good receiving back, and that's a skill set that teams value. He can hold up in pass protection still. So yeah, I'm okay with taking a chance on him.
Yeah, I think if they were gonna cut him, it would have been last year. I'm looking at his contract status, and last year he was only a $10 million cap hit with a $3 million base salary.
Yeah.
This year it jumps up to 11.5 base with an $18 million cap hit. So
yeah,
that makes it unlikely that they cut him. So he should be rostered by the Saints. Best ball drafts he's going in round 12 or even later. I've done some drafts where I've gotten him in round 14. He's I'm taking him there all day. In the event that they don't draft Jeremiah Love, it's only better. But even if they do draft Jeremiah Love, we've seen rookie running back sometimes take time to get acclimated to the third down role.
Sure.
So, just an older veteran guy that people have written off that I'm still in on.
Yeah, no, I like that. I've been taking him in fast draft with my last pick. I did a video on that about how he's a guy. Him and Matthew Stafford are guys that I think are pretty undervalued right now. So yeah, I think that's a solid choice. For me, I would say Rachaad White is a buy for me. I guess technically he's south, but he's a free agent, so we don't know if he's definitely not staying with the Bucks. When I look at Rachaad White, I just think he's a player that teams are going to like. And look, he's 27 years old, but with Rachaad White, he's got the skill sets that you want for a back at his age. He's a great pass protector, so he's going to find time on the field because he can pass protect. He's a really good receiver out of the backfield. He's got good hands. He's very reliable. And then he's a good goal line back. He's good short yardage. So at worst, we get a guy that scores 8 touchdowns, right, and catches a couple passes a game, right, and gives you maybe, 20, 30, 40 rushing yards a game as a change of pace to somebody else. I'm taking a chance on that. I think Washington makes a ton of sense for him. Wouldn't love the landing spot with Washington just because I don't love the running quarterback and,
right.
How much will he dump it off to White, but they also have a relationship. So maybe that plays into it. Maybe he'll look his way a little bit more, but I think White's a guy that I don't love him as a runner. I like him a lot as a receiver. And again, short yardage back. He's a guy that was in there a ton for the Bucks, even when Bucky was healthy and playing well. He was in there at the goal line, short yardage. So I think teams will like him more than people expect when he hits the open market.
I agree 100%. I think the Chiefs would be an awesome landing spot for him. I don't think, the Chiefs are looking to make a big splash as far as money spent at that position. I don't think he'll cost all that much. And I think he would I'd even say he probably come cheaper than James Conner and Aaron Jones. So he's flying under the radar. I agree with you. He's a running back that can play all 3 downs if necessary. We've seen him do it before. He's huge in the red zone. You touched on all of it, all the good points about Rachaad White for sure. But the main fact is he can play all 3 downs. Bucky, they drafted Bucky, and that kind of affected his role. But like you said, he was still getting plenty of touches, plenty of snaps. And he's a great NFL running back. He's not, gonna take one to the house, but like you said, NFL teams are definitely would be interested in adding him to their running back room for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Pete. Well, you've been an incredible guest as usual, a wealth of information. Thanks for carrying me in the show. I'm a little rough on the edges this early in draft season, especially at where I have
That's
yet
all
to deep dive anything. I'm just going on initial thoughts. But you know,
Yeah.
I took my month off and it felt weird. I needed to get on here and get back to the weekly routine of doing the show. So it's necessary in my life. But
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the rookies are fun to talk about right now, but until we get landing spots, it's just conversation
right.
at this point, right? So,
Abs-
you don't have to be up and up on it yet,
Right.
I mean, what matters when the drafts start happening and capital happens and all that. So,
the thing is, this point, the past 2 years, I've been more in deep dive and I've deep dove more up into. But I think at this point, I found finally once I started, it's I'm going on 1 year doing content, and the burn, like, I don't want to say that I completely burn out, but you feel it after time. You don't take any breaks, and you're going week in, week out for a full year. Once that fantasy season ended and the Patriots were making a playoff run, I kind of put deep dive in fantasy football in the back seat and was just enjoying that. And then but we're back at it. We'll get back on the up and up, as you say, Pete. In the upcoming weeks for sure. There was one question that I missed. I want to go back up and get it. It involved. Here it is. This one right here. Jamie Angel, stash for Superflex, need 2. Garoppolo, Kirk, Helani, or Marshawn Lloyd?
Kirk Cousins.
I'm thinking Christian Kirk. This popped up a while ago, so I don't even know if Jamie's still with us. Jamie Angel.
Not here. I would if it's Kirk Cousins, I'd say Cousins and Helani. With possibility that Walker's gone, Charbonnet might take time before he gets ramps back up. They don't really have much in that room, so I'd say Helani. And if it's Kirk Cousins, I would keep Cousins.
All right, and we got one more for Jerry Sinclair, because I just noticed that he completed a trade yesterday in our league. So I want your thoughts on the trade. Keep in mind, he is a rebuilding team, as he said to me in the DMs the other day, or maybe it was yesterday. It's got to be better than my shit ass team, or he said something along those lines. But he made this trade. He sent Daniel Jones and David Montgomery, and he got in return 2026 109, 2027 third, and 2026 509. So,
well, I mean, if you're not a believer in Daniel Jones, it's a good return, but you got to believe in your ability to draft. I mean, Montgomery is kind of a throw-in. I mean, he's 29 years old. I mean, he's going to get volume. He'll be a contributor. He'll be valuable for like a year or two, but it doesn't really fit his build if he's a rebuilder, right? He doesn't need Montgomery. Daniel Jones for, the 109, I think is fair. I'm worried with the Achilles. They only tagged him. They gave him a transition tag. I don't know if they're going to get a long-term deal with him done or not, but I mean, yeah, I'd say that's fine. Daniel Jones is valued at about the 108 to 109. So yeah, I mean, that's good value.
All right. Well, that's it. I just wanted to go over that trade real quick because Jerry was supposed to be with us tonight, and he had to be an employee at his job first. So as always, work and family comes first. So, but he will be on in a future episode. We're going to be working out those details. I can't wait to get Jerry on here, talk some football, and meet him on camera finally, and do a show with him. So, just want to throw that out there. Pete, remind the peeps where they can find you and all your wonderful work.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Supernova38 with 2 R's, and you can also find me on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Roto Underworld. Yeah, doing all that work over there, and we're launching a new Dynasty channel on Player Profiler. Getting the first video I just recorded today. It should get up in the next day or two. So we're excited about that. And I will be at the NFL draft this year for Player Profiler. So
yeah, great news, great news. One of my favorite things to watch is that stream. I always have that and the TV going.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. I was excited. I was excited to know it's in Pittsburgh, so that's like not very far for me to go. So
nice. That's great. Congratulations on that, man. That's great. Great experience, I'm sure. And I think that's it, man. We'll call it a show. Appreciate you being on. Great guest, even better friend. And we'll be in touch, man. I want to thank the audience. Anybody tune in live, hit the like and subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the Sports Affiliation, we adding a bunch of people. Jamie in the chat has just joined the team as well. He wanted to be part of the hypotheticals project we got going on. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos for that right after this show. I think I may as well knock them out. It's where we basically Galaxy Brain, a free agent, a rookie, it could be anybody, and where we think that they're going to land hypothetically. It's the little concept JC came up with, rivaling Marvel. If anybody was into comic books, the Marvel series, where there was a villain. Roger Goodell's the commissioner villain. The free agent players are the superheroes. They enter the multiverse, and we're just basically giving our thoughts on where they're going to land and the fantasy impact it'll have on the player. So cool, fun exercise. We'll see if any one of us can get one right. Be kind of cool. Could be good bragging rights, but definitely check that out. The Sports Affiliation YouTube channel. Subscribe. Pete, thank you again, man. We're going to get out of here. Everybody have a good night.